All right, guys, I'm Adam. This is Bill. You've got a spider coming out of your mouth. So have I. That's disgusting. What's going on? Oh my God. Oh, the spider. It's just an app, mate. It's fine. Don't worry. Welcome to this week's breakdown of Doctor Who Series 11, Episode 4, Arachnids in the UK. I'm Adam. I'm joined by Bill today, who is the regenerated form of Oscar.
The upgraded model.
Nice. I like that. Obviously, if you haven't seen the episode yet, go and check it out right now, as we're going to be diving into loads of spoilers. Right. Let's get into it.
We reckon there could be around 21 quadrillion spiders on the planet in total.
So what sort of research are you doing in here?
So this week's episode was very much like an old-fashioned sort of Doctor Who Monster of the Week format. Bill, what did you make of Arachnids in the UK?
Well, it's typical you chose to have me on this one, because I hate spiders. It was really, really hard to watch.
Unlucky the Bill.
Unlucky me. I had to take a few breaks from the episode just because it was a bit too much at times with the creepy crawlies. But actually, I thought they were probably the weaker part of the story.
Yeah, like my takeaway from the episode is it was kind of like this mixed bag. In my opinion, it was kind of the weaker or the weakest element of this series so far. Not to say that it was a bad episode, it just felt like a mixed bag. It was sort of two stories going on. We had like obviously the spider sequences and like all the spider stuff, which obviously you weren't a fan of.
Horrible.
But then you also had like the domestic drama. And I don't think the spider stuff was particularly that great. I think it was a little bit undercooked, but the domestic stuff with like Yaz's family, Ryan and Graham, I thought was really strong. And I think it's just a testament to this series and they're sort of doubling down on strong characters that like even in a weaker episode, you get like really strong character moments.
And going back to the villains, not only did we have the spiders, but we had like a Trump light character who played a secondary kind of villain. But it was a bit too on the nose, but we'll dive into that.
We'll dive into that more in a minute. He was very, he was Trump, basically.
Yeah, basically.
I am not a politician, I'm a businessman, and I know how to run things.
I've heard you're only running because you've hated Trump for decades.
Please don't mention that name.
Right, so let's get into the creepy crawlies, the eight-legged freaks. So I'm not really that scared of spiders. Like,
oh, you are.
Oh yeah. I mean, they're fine. Like, I don't find them particularly scary, but like a lot of people do, and it's kind of a really good primal fear for Doctor Who to kind of tap into. Now, Will, you're kind of like a low-key arachnophobe, would you say?
Yeah, definitely. Like, I didn't watch this in the evening because I knew I wouldn't be able to sleep. I'm the sort of person who I feel like there are spiders crawling over me in my bed.
Yeah.
So I saved it till the morning, but even then it was hard to watch. Like the first time you see a big spider, I had a genuine chill. It's not often TV can do that, but it's obviously tapping into that fear that a lot of people have.
Definitely, yeah.
So, like, yeah, if you're afraid of spiders, it's a difficult one.
Yeah, like, I mean, as I said, I'm not too bothered by spiders, but it definitely effectively set them up as like a chilling on-screen monster. I like the kind of atmosphere that it created, especially in that apartment where you see all the spider webs first and then you meet your first spider.
Look at the size of it.
And on the whole, the effects for the spiders were pretty well done, like especially the small spiders.
Yeah.
There was that one shot sort of where they were listening in and sort of you could see like it creeping, its sort of claws creeping against the wall, which I thought was really good actually. I thought that actually might have been a practical effect. I don't know whether it was or not, but it looked great. I think the bigger spider models had a little bit of iffy CGI going on, but
definitely.
I think you made a good point when we were talking about this earlier, when you were like, maybe that's just because we're not used to seeing a spider the size of a van.
Yeah, like the smaller ones were a bit more believable.
Yeah.
But when you see one that's as big as a house, you're like, yeah, that doesn't look surreal. And thank God, because I don't want big spiders like houses.
Big spider houses.
Sorry. But it actually was a bit respectful to the creature, and the Doctor was very much like, we don't want to hurt them, we want to look after them, give them a natural death. I'd be quite happy if they wanted to kill them with fire.
Yeah, I think what you're saying there is like, I like how the Doctor is very sort of respectful of the creatures and is sort of coming at them like they're a living organism. Let's not just kill them like the Trump-like character wants to do. He's like, oh, let's just kill it with a gun. And she's like, no, let's study them because like they're living creatures and we don't want to just kill them because of them being different to us. Although I did have some reservations with her logic about how to humanely kill them. Like how she was like, oh, let's suffocate them in this tiny panic room.
It's not very nice.
And that sounds pretty grim. And what's his face? Chris Noth's character is just like, oh, well, why don't we just shoot them? It will kill them faster, and it's mercy killing. I don't know. It was a bit of a dark, sort of a dour note to end on with just like this systematic killing of all these spiders. So
yeah, after the big one died, it sort of ended, and I was like, oh, what about the others? And it's like, oh, I guess they just died then.
Yeah, I know, it was crazy, wasn't it? The way that Doctor Who was like, now you will feel empathy for this giant spider. I was like, yes, I will feel empathy for this giant spider.
She won't survive for long. She's more scared of us than we are of her.
It was a bit weird as well how the Trump character sort of took out this massive spider with one shot, whereas his trained bodyguard didn't do anything to it. It's like, okay, that's sure. Okay, he got one shot from a while away and managed to kill it.
Oh man. Yeah, that sequence in the toilet, actually in the bathroom with the giant spider and the bodyguard getting eaten, that was actually particularly scary because it lingered on like shots of him getting sort of semi-eaten or sort of cocooned that were, I think, pretty nasty.
Yeah, it was
like,
horrible.
Yeah, like the sound effects, like, I mean, they were really unsettling.
Lots of squelching and ugh. No, I'm not gonna sleep tonight.
I think my problem with the spider sort of subplot of this story was how it was all just very conveniently sort of tied up in a nice neat bow at the end.
Yeah.
Like, it all tied into sort of various threads that the story was sort of setting up with the landfill and the sort of conspiracy that the dad has, which is basically given the spiders unlimited food source to just feast and become giant. Yeah. And that kind of made sense to me, I suppose, in the sort of logic of the episode. But like, the way it just ended was just a bit anticlimactic for me, you know, with the Stormzy song playing, which sort of the spiders all trotted along and they got caught in the panic room. I don't know, it just felt very abrupt to me.
Yeah, it was a bit too convenient, wasn't it? They just play a song and yep, the spiders are going to walk exactly where they want to go.
Yeah.
And they're not going to like do anything else, so.
It kind of felt like you could feel like Chibnall was like, oh, I've got like 10 pages to wrap this up. I need to get these spiders in somewhere that they can be dealt with. And it just felt a little bit like undercooked.
Definitely,
So it could have had a little bit more time to develop. Okay, so we've kind of just been calling him Trump Light, but Chris Noth played a character called Robertson, who was effectively the secondary villain of this episode. Bill, what did you make of this Robertson character?
I found it a bit weird because they referenced Trump in the episode,
yeah,
and then had this character who went on to essentially imitate Trump, right down to the way he spoke and his body language. It was very much like, this is Trump. And they were trying to send a message about him not being a great person. I don't know, it felt a bit underbaked.
Yeah, it was bizarre. Like, you know, he was clearly set up as this sort of moustache twirling sort of villain, and and Chris Noth was having a lot of fun by the looks of things. It definitely came across in the episode, like he was just chewing on all the scenery. He was like, I'm a big bad villain.
There's that nice line where he's like hiding in the corner with a gun, he's like, I'm talking to spiders.
Yeah, I think my favourite line of his was like, oh, I've run out of Kevins. Kevin the bodyguard got munched. I was like,
poor Kevin.
That's quite good.
Oh my God. You got Kevin. I have no more Kevin.
So he was a goodish villain for the Doctor and her team. You know, he was a great foil for them because he just was vehemently opposed to everything that they were standing for. And like, he was a lot of fun, you know, like we've said, there's like, he had some funny one-liners, he was, you know, charismatic in a certain degree, but I think ultimately he was a bit paper thin and just didn't bring too much to the episode.
I don't need your approval, Doctor. This is what the world needs right now. This is what's going to get me into the White House.
So the real meat of this episode for me was like getting to know Yaz and her family a little bit more. And I think we didn't quite get the full picture of Yaz, you know, we were really looking for that episode. And this is kind of laying the ground foundations, I think, for her character and her family and the dynamics there and the kind of reasons why she's sort of irritated by them.
Yeah, she's definitely becoming a more interesting character.
Yeah.
We also got to meet her family and her mum, Nadja. who's a really lovely character.
Yeah, she was nice, wasn't she?
Yeah, a really nice woman. And you can start to see why she would want to break away from that and join the Doctor on a new adventure.
100%, yeah, because like they had a really nice little cozy flat, but it sort of looked small, and you could tell like they were all on top of each other, and she was kind of very, itching for that sort of escape, and that's definitely what the Doctor kind of gives her as an opportunity. So it's kind of clear to see why she is the way she is and what she wants from her sort of her adventures with the Doctor.
I love my family, but they also drive me completely insane.
And also, are we starting to see maybe Yaz falling for the Doctor? There were a few clues in this episode, and especially right at the end with her line, like, "You're the best person I've ever met." Yeah,
like I definitely felt like, I don't know whether it's being overt with it or like just suggesting it, but I definitely feel like Yaz is either, really just either falling for the Doctor or very much looking up to her as someone, to aspire to.
Either way, I think that's great. Like, it's really cool to see. Yeah,
I really like it. And you get the mum asking, "Oh, are you two seeing each other?" And it just felt like there was a lot of subtext there. The Doctor was obviously not helping with that at all, being very confusing. But like, I feel like you can kind of see Yaz sort of contemplating it, and like, I don't know. I think that'd be a nice little dynamic. It'd be interesting to see how that develops.
I want more. More of the universe. More time with you. You're like the best person I've ever met.
We also saw some development with that relationship between Graham and Ryan, which seems to be warming. Ryan's offering more of an olive branch now to Graham. Yeah,
it's nice to see Graham getting a bit of attention, because this episode really sort of showed that he is suffering from the grief of like his partner and wife having passed away, and oh man, Bradley Walsh is, for me, the best thing in this at the moment. Like, he's just I just want to give him a big old hug. Like, he just looks so sad.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are a bit hesitant perhaps about him being in this series, but actually he's been brilliant.
100%, yeah. Like, and for me, I think he's got that really strong, he's probably got the strongest motivation for joining the TARDIS team out of the three companions, and I just really want to see him be happy again. Go on, Bradders, you can do it.
Being with you and seeing all these things, it really helps.
And so this episode ends with the companions officially joining the TARDIS and the TARDIS team, which is I quite like that. Definitely not fam.
No, please stop that.
Get rid of that. And I thought this whole scene was a nice, unique twist on how the companions usually join the Doctor, where the Doctor's sort of like inviting them. This time we had the companions going to the Doctor. How did this play out for you, Bill?
Usually the Doctor is the driving force for bringing people along on adventures, but this time, you could tell straight away at the beginning of the episode, she was a bit hesitant about leaving and sort of felt very much quite lonely. But it was really nice at the end that these three characters came to her, each with their own reason for wanting to go travelling, all of which were very believable,
Definitely, yeah. And what I really liked actually about this scene was how the Doctor was like, "Are you sure?" Like, she had to actively ask each member of the team, "Are you sure?" And there was a nice line about how you'll come back different people.
You're not going to come back as the same people that left here.
But that's all right. I think that's good.
And in some ways, I think the companions genuinely want that. They do want to become different people because of various things that are going on in their life. Like Graham obviously is dealing with grief, and I think Ryan is just someone who wants to learn and is very naive.
Yeah, sick of his job.
Yeah, and Yaz just wants to get out of her life, right? She just needs to explore and just, she has ambitions that are bigger than what she can actually do in her current lifestyle. So I don't know, I just genuinely thought it was a nice scene to sort of end this episode and really say, right, new TARDIS team, now we're going on some adventures. All right, let's get into some of the Easter eggs that we noticed in this episode.
The Doctor has encountered spiders many times before, most notably in the third Doctor adventure, Planet of the Spiders, which was John Pertwee's last serial as the Doctor, and is famous for introducing the concept of regeneration into Doctor Who lore.
Here we go again.
So similar to last week, the Doctor reveals a tantalising anecdote about a famous friend. In this case, we got the iconic flyer Amelia Earhart.
I've had to deal with it. Well, me and Amelia Earhart. You'd like her, she's a right laugh.
The Doctor has had a few encounters with the pilot, most notably the Fifth Doctor, who owned her flying jacket in the audio play No Place Like Home. And in my opinion, an episode investigating Amelia Earhart's mysterious disappearance would be cracking. Get on it, Chris Chibnall.
This episode saw the return of the psychic paper, the Doctor's ID of sorts, that gets brought out every so often to give the Doctor some authority in any given situation. Essentially, it's a blank bit of paper that induces people to see whatever the user wants them to see.
Psychic paper, long story, oh, I hate starting from scratch.
We also saw the time vortex right at the beginning of this episode, but it looks like it's had a revamp since we last saw it.
Shout out to Ryan's shadow puppet skills. Not sure what he's doing, but he totally caught our eye in the back of this scene.
And lastly, the title is obviously a pun on the Sex Pistols song Anarchy in the UK. Okay, let's have a little look at some of your comments from last week's episode. One of my favourites was this theory from Matt That Vlogs that says, I have a theory that when Krasko said your kind, he wasn't talking about Ryan's race, but the human race, and that he was trying to nudge human history in a bad direction. I think that's a really interesting theory. I mean, I don't know if it's true or that was what they were sort of trying to get across in that scene. I definitely read it as him being racist. You know, like it felt like that's how they were sort of trying to go with his character in the context of that story.
One comment that caught my eye was from Scott Karash, who said, when Graham says, I don't want to be a part of this, that line really got to me. Reminds me of the Doctor in Water of Mars, where he knows something is supposed to happen and he shouldn't do anything to intervene. Yeah, that really got me as well. It was hard to watch.
Yeah, it was a difficult scene, wasn't it? And like, it's good that I like how he's sort of throwing that back to Waters of Mars, because that episode was similar in that like the Doctor knew what was going to happen and couldn't really do anything to change it. So it did have echoes of that. Like, I think Rosa sort of dealt with it in a more interesting way, but if you haven't seen Waters of Mars, also go check that out because it's a great episode. All right, that's it for our breakdown of episode 4, Arachnids in the UK. Let us know your thoughts on the episode in the comments section below, and we'll be reading out some of our favourites on next week's breakdown, where we'll be looking at episode 5, the Suranga Conundrum. Oh, that is really a horrible title. We're going to have to say a lot of times, so bear with us.
But to watch that, make sure you subscribe or come and yell at us on Twitter. I am at The Quiff Is Dead.
I'm at Adam Rees-Mace. Thank you very much for watching, guys. We'll see you next week.
Oh, why did I wave? Idiot!
Right, cool, that's it. That's the take. I'm putting that all in.